Welcome to the Black Men Think podcast. If this is your first time here, know that the views and opinions expressed by the Black Men Think podcast are those of the Black Men Think podcast and not the individual members. With that being said, we're about to be unapologetically, undeniably black. Enjoy.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the Black Man Think podcast. I'm your host, Last Name Good, aka JD. And as you already can see,
What's
introduce
up, good sir?
yourself, sir. What's going on, man?
How's it going, everybody? I'm Marlon, aka Motown. Good to be back. Good to be back.
Mm-hmm.
Love
Very
it.
much so. Very much so. So before we dive in tonight, man, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Also like and hit the comment section. Just start off with the comment section. Let us know your thoughts, man. If this is your first time here, welcome to Black Man Think. So prior to starting tonight, Mo and I, in pre-production, we was talking about, man, like what's going on, right? Like what are we dealing with?
Yeah.
And this word kept popping up. The R word is what we like to call it. And for anyone that is I'm gonna say 35 and up,
Mm. There's a reference point for this word.
there's a serious reference point. And it's ironic that our age group, right? Mo and I are both pushing 40. But our age group, we are getting ready to head into something that we've seen before in our adulthood, not in teenage years, not in as a child, no, like as an adult with responsibilities.
Yeah.
We are running into what's um, soon to be another recession, right? That's the R word.
Mm.
And so I'll say the last recession, what, 2008, 8-ish, something like that, was a very hard time. You know what I mean? Like in 2000, I'm just trying to think back 2008 for me. What did 2008 for me look like? Right.
And
So,
that was a monumental moment, I think, for you at that point.
oh, 100%. I mean, I think we
Right.
were, we were full in grind mode, fresh out of college.
Yeah.
I think I had already quit one corporate job. Like I had quit my first corporate job fresh out of college, which was a 100% sales commission job. I don't know what I was thinking. That that first week check, we used to get paid every week, and I got like that first check, I had like $1,000, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be cash
This
money.
it.
This
Yeah.
this is easy." And it didn't go that way, right? But needless to say, I left that job, and I think I had started working at another job, um, and whatever graduation drop. I want to see if I can look. What year did Kanye graduation drop?
Uh, uh,
Right. Graduation dropped in, I'm looking this up, people,
good morning.
released September 11th,
Mm.
2007.
Mm.
Now, you may ask yourself, why did I ask when the graduation dropped? Well, graduation dropped the day I got fired from my corporate job. I remember this very vividly because I got fired and I went to Target and I bought graduation.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that. Like because it was a Tuesday. I believe I got fired on a Tuesday, and at that time all albums dropped on a Tuesday.
Right. Right.
And so I remember this because I got fired and I left and was like, all right, well, Kanye West graduation. I've graduated, is on and popping now. Music full steam ahead. And
Mhm.
and let's just say 2007, 2008 was probably some of the hardest years of my life, but
Yeah.
very very tough time. But I say all that to say that was our first recession that we can remember, as adults.
It's funny because I have different reference point
Okay.
at that time, and it reminds me of gas lines
Mm,
and waiting in line when there were gas shortages and those prices were skyrocketing. Man, I can remember, this is back when I was, living in Vinings.
Okay.
So me, Ace, Brian, and Tori next door, you were up there just as much, almost like you were
Like I
you lived
live
there,
there.
like you lived there.
Right.
Um, but then there was like you go straight down Paces, and at the end of Paces there was this BP. It's right across the street
Mm-hmm.
from Kroger down there, right across from Lassiter's where we used to go.
Yep.
And I remember coming from, south, like Cobb Parkway, from coming from the city, like looking for gas, like, people selling out, all this kind of stuff. And so I'm like, oh, cool, this gas station got gas. So I'm gonna take a left into this gas station. So I
Right.
pull in like hard, like, okay, boom, found it, but we about to get this gas, bro. And then all of a sudden I hear, no, on my window. I was like, yo. And so I like cracked my window. I was like, yo, what you want? He was like, listen. He said, I'm keeping it 100 with you. This white dude. He was like, I came over here. I'm a pastor. I came over here so those people back there don't come over here and shoot you. I was like, what you talking about, bro? He was like, there's a line going all the way down the road. It goes around the curve. I was looking around the corner. I was like, oh, snap. He was like, they wanted to come over here and fight you, but I'm coming over here because I told them, calm down. Let me tell him that he just cut in front of 40 people who were waiting for get.
Wow.
Bro.
Never heard this story, by the way.
Bro, I was like, chill. I didn't see the line. I will back up and go get in the back of the line. It's all good. And and I looked out and it's like people standing outside, like of a
Like
car,
ready.
like
Ready.
Bro, I didn't know what I had just pulled up on. And so I get out, I go get in the back of the line. It takes an hour and a half
Wow.
to get gas. Thankfully, I made it. And then when I look back, when I left, I was headed back up West Paces, headed back up
Yeah.
towards the apartment. And it had gone all the way past the QT, past where Mihans was, basically almost up, up the hill, headed towards the Chick-fil-A. And
Wow.
bro, I was like, this is crazy. But
Yeah. Wow. I remember that time, like trying to find gas, like, and I believe it happened a couple of times, but I do remember that one time where everyone was saying like, yo, gas is about to go to like $4.
yeah,
Now, mind you, right now people are kind of used to spending
right.
between $3 and $4 for gas. But we're talking about a time when gas was maybe the highest, maybe 150.
Yeah, I was thinking like 175.
170, 180
Yeah.
ish. It wasn't $2. I know that it wasn't $2, but we're talking about like overnight gas went from, let's say, 179 to like 425
Yep.
overnight. And we're talking about people like, yo, what's going on?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people scrambling trying to get gas. Like you said, that was I didn't know that happened to you
Dude.
at all. I didn't know that I that's what I'm saying. This is the first time I'm hearing that story. But I do remember that time when gas was just, out of hand. But we say all that to say, we're prefacing this by saying, um, and this is not to scare anyone, but if you are not in the know or if you're not paying attention, it's coming, right? And so now that we're older and we have more, more money, better jobs, all of that stuff, and we're more prepared, I believe. So this episode, I believe it'll be a good opportunity to talk, how do we prepare ourselves for a recession? What should we be doing? And things to, kind of look out for in this. And also let's preface this by saying like, yo, we're not financial advisors or anything like that. We're just common people that's
Just
letting
homeboy.
homeboys letting y'all know like, yo, this is what we're gonna do. So, if y'all want to take this advice, by all means do it, but definitely consult with the people you need to consult with. But we're just giving you our perspective on it. So Mo,
Yes, sir.
what's the first thing you doing?
Man, bro, we're trying to decrease these egg purchases over here. I know that much.
Bro, what?
What? First of all, eggs.
Eggs.
Why are eggs so expensive? why eggs? Like, and granted, everything is going up, but the grocery store is tripping, bro.
No, eggs are crazy because we eat a lot of eggs too, right?
Okay,
Like we eat a lot of eggs, and particularly my wife, she pretty much eats like boiled eggs for breakfast every day. Like that's her thing. She likes to eat boiled eggs,
gotcha.
and I like eggs too, right? I don't particularly like boiled eggs, but I do like eggs, and so we buy them by by the 18.
Hmm.
It's normal for us to get an 18 pack of eggs, and we pretty much go through that within a week. Let's just say a week. Probably not a week, but for the sake of the conversation, a week. And I mean, dude, I've seen eggs at the store for like almost $10.
Mm. That's
That's wild, bro.
when you
And
stay at the store.
and I don't have a clue. I don't know why eggs, are going up the way that they are. Um, but what I do know is if eggs are super high price, then the other commodities like the essentials, milk, bread, they're they're going to go up too.
Right.
And I think a lot of this stuff is just testers trying to really see,
Yeah.
okay, what are people willing to pay,
Absolutely.
because it's all about supply and demand, right? That's basic economics. And so if they price it at $5 and $6 and people continue to buy at $5 and $6, then that tells the market that, oh, okay, the demand is still there, we can keep upping this price. It's all about when we stop. And unfortunately, eggs are staples in a lot of homes. You know what I mean? That people eat eggs, bro. If it's not for breakfast, it's for lunch, or they're putting it in something, pies, cakes,
Yeah.
all of those things. So eggs are being used, and I, I don't know, man. Between gas and eggs, bro. Like,
We'll be at the house.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
I jokingly say eggs, but I mean honestly, to answer your question, first thing that I'm doing, we're assessing a way to create multiple streams of income.
absolutely.
Um, you know, for us, I think one of the things that we, and I say we, my wife and I, one of the things that we want to dive deeper in, and honestly feel like the looming potential for a recession may create an opportunity for, is to expand our real estate portfolio.
Gotcha.
Um, so we own a home. We actually own a rental property as well, which was our previous home. And, timing wise, we're kind of watching a lot of the trends. Now, interest rates are stupid right now.
Yeah, interest
They're,
rates are
they're
crazy.
going to
Yeah,
continue to go up. So it seems. But the reality is the price of property value may end up decreasing at some point.
yeah,
And availability may also shoot through the roof depending on if we really dive into a recession and really get to the point where
right,
the effects of the recession are affecting people's jobs and people's property and ability to remain in their homes and that type of thing, which is extremely unfortunate. But I think at one point in my life I would have been on the victim side of things like that.
right,
And in a different phase of life, I'm trying to position myself to level up, honestly. And people do that in different ways. They do it with stocks, they do it with,
hmm,
all kind of stuff. But for us, it's real estate. And so it's really kind of looking at property opportunities, locations, and just trying to continue stacking on what we currently have and finding the right scenarios, so that they can bring in some passive income,
right,
but also kind of set us up for a long-term legacy, earlier retirement. You know,
hmm,
I mean, I'm tired of working. I'm gonna go ahead and keep it real with you. Like I'm good on it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
No, I
ready
feel you.
to. Yeah, I've worked enough. You
Yeah,
know, and I say that as a young man. So, I got. I'm giving ourselves 5, 10 tops. Um, where we are, and I'm saying 10 very, very, like I couldn't control some of that. I'm
gotcha.
really
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
five.
yeah, yeah.
And I like to be thinking about, hey, I think I'm okay. I can retire at least from corporate world and
Day to day.
day to day and
Yeah,
begin to manage properties and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I hear that, man. That's excellent, bro. Because something key that you said was, at one point in time you may have been a victim of, and and I think about, back in 2008, 2007, when interest rates were extremely low, but also, banks were just throwing money at people to buy homes.
Mm.
And while the homes were not that expensive, I just didn't have the mindset to buy a home back then. I didn't have the mind, I wasn't thinking about it. I was just like, I got, uh, I was more so thinking about, I kind of want to get married first before I buy a crib.
Sure.
Not really thinking about, man, if I would have bought a crib in 2006, 2007, would have been sitting
It went
pretty right
straight
about
on.
now. Yeah, you know
Right.
what I mean? And of course you can't go back and change the past, but what you can do is learn from it, right? And so looking at how some of those things happened back then, just being more prepared now, right? Am I tired of working? I'm not necessarily tired of working.
Mm.
Um, However, the option, right? I want to be in a position of where I have the option to go or not go. Right now, I don't have the option to go or not go, right? Like, yeah, I mean, technically, yeah, I don't have to go, but
Mhm.
things would be different, right? You know what I mean? Like, as adults, we accumulate certain things that we want to continue to maintain, and the only way to maintain those things is about we got to make some money. And it's
Yep.
capitalism at its finest, but also it's just being realistic. The position that you put yourself in, you can make those changes and become like a minimalist type person, or you can keep doing what you're doing and figure out ways to elevate from that. So I don't necessarily want to retire, but I definitely want to have the option of, like, right now I work 4 days a week.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom working 5 days a week. Like, at this point in my, I can't even fathom that. And my wife works 3 days a week, and I'm really trying to like figure out how we can bump that down, bump her down to 2 and bump me down to 3.
Or
You know what I mean? Like, and that's just being realistic. Like, that's what we're doing. So my wife and I, we started a vending business back in 2021. And we've been working out the kinks and figuring things as we go. And we have an opportunity that has arisen very recently. And so we're going through the due diligence process of expanding our business, and hopefully everything works out. But just looking at that, because it's a type of business, while it does take work, it is somewhat semi-passive, right? Like, I don't have to go to this place every day.
yeah.
Like, I literally, from one of the location that we have, I will say I go there every 2 weeks, and I spend about an hour in there every 2 weeks,
Just kind of resetting it, getting items back in.
resetting, maintaining, and now don't get me wrong, there's some things that come along with that. At one of our locations, we have a coffee contract, so we have to keep an eye on that a little bit more. So,
Right.
that might be once a week as opposed to twice a month. But anyway it goes, bro, like, I'm going to most locations 1 to 2 times a month, or two, excuse me, 2 to 4 times a month for 30 minutes to an hour. So you do the math.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so what a normal work week would look like, where I'm putting in 30 to 40 hours a week or more, I'm cutting that down to like 4 hours.
Hmm.
And so, the goal is, if we can make our business replace one income,
Mm.
then we've done our job. Like, if our
Absolutely.
small business can replace one income, then we essentially go from a 3 income household. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And
Mhm. Yeah.
if we keep that same mentality, then we're just trying to accumulate, and once we accumulate, figure out a way to move on. Like, I've been watching a lot of videos, bro, a lot of videos of these people who show you how business really works, right? And one thing that's consistent that we've seen is, like, this is what we should be doing, right? As mid 30s, early 40s, people that have, good to decent jobs, and have accumulated some type of capital,
Mm.
the one thing that we can do that all of the billionaires in the world have done
Hmm.
and continue to do is buy businesses of people of the boomers who are getting ready to retire.
Mm. Interesting.
Like, so the thing is, right? We all know somebody that's 60 that's tired of doing it, that feel like us, but they're really tired because they worked an extra 20 years.
Mm.
And so, these could be, and it's like buying like the boring jobs, bro, like the boring
Hmm.
jobs. So, like the plumbers, you
Interesting.
know, the people that own the HVACs, the people that like carpenters,
Yeah.
the people that do flooring. And, we think about, our mindset is completely different than our parents. Our parents created jobs so that they can work every day, so they have to work for somebody else. We look at that and say, like, no, that's a business.
Hmm.
So you buy those people businesses, right? Who are ready to ride off in the sunset. You go in and you figure out a way to improve their business, improve their customer base, add value, up your price, and
Mm.
then in 5 years, 2 to 5 years, sell the business.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you buy it from somebody who's ready to
Right.
get out. You improve on it. You increase
Mhm.
your prices,
And then.
and then when you 3x that business, 3 4x that, now you sell it. So say you buy something for, I don't know, 30,000,
Hmm.
and you improve upon it and do what you need to do, and in 3 years, you sell it for 100,000.
Hmm.
You just made 70, and now you rinse and repeat and do that. You know what I mean? And so I mean, of course, that's not everybody's. No, everybody's not going to do that, but
Right.
it's an opportunity that we can easily do right now, and it doesn't really cost us a lot. You don't have to go in and take over someone else's job, and now you got to do all the physical work. Like, no, just think about it, bro. Like, everything is automated now anyway. This
Hmm.
person's been doing the work for 20, 30 years. Tell them, like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna buy your business, but I want you to continue working for like 2 or 3 more years.
Yeah.
So keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to show you how to improve upon that, but keep doing what you're doing. I've already bought your business, but you keep working for 2 or 3 more years.
Hmm.
For somebody that's been working 30 years, they're not thinking about 2 or 3 more years.
Right.
You keep working, but in the meantime, I'm buying your business, so you're getting paid extra every time. So like by the time you're retiring, now you got an extra, instead of the 30,000 that you were going to sell it
Hmm.
for, I gave you $40,000. So now you feel even more like, oh man, and they're going off in the sunset. And now in that time period, you've already improved the business. Now you can turn around and sell it to somebody else.
Interesting.
It's the same thing that people do with real estate.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's
Same thing.
extremely similar, and I've never even considered that approach.
Hmm.
But it is clear as day in real estate, because what you're doing, you're either really one of two things. You're finding the properties that you buy at low cost, you add to the value, and then you let it sit and rise in value,
Hmm.
and then resell, and basically keep flipping and kind of building on that and doing the same thing with the next property and the next property, and eventually those resale values may give you a property and a half, and then a property and or two properties, um, duplexes. You definitely want to find that. Definitely want
Oh
to find
man,
multi. That's every time I'm driving through
bro.
downtown, but like you know
Yeah.
Hollowell, every time I'm back up there, bro, I gotta find a duplex, bro. I
Oh
have to
yeah.
find a multi-unit home, a multi-unit site, because if I can find one at the same cost that I would spend on a single family home, come on, man.
Why not?
Why not?
Why
I
not?
passed one today on the court. I was like, man, I want to knock on the door so bad. I just want to see if it's for sale. But there will come a time where some of those units will become available, and I want to be at
Hmm.
the table. So again, you can flip it, or really from our standpoint, I think we're looking for um, at least we're in a phase where we're looking for properties to hang on to for
Gotcha.
long term. So we want to build that portfolio up. We want to find properties that bring back a considerable amount of income per month, so that we can pay the property off quicker. Really looking at 15-year loans, um, ideally. I would say ideally
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
loans. But we also want a profit margin every month that we can pull in and have some flex spending with, and or a profit margin that can go towards the next.
Right,
So
right.
um, we're a fan of that, and it really kind of came into that with where we're at now with the one we have. But that was coming off the heels. All I can say is, bro, I'm glad we didn't sell that house. That's all I can say, man. Like at
Bro,
one point, I wanted to. I think you were the only person saying, "Oh no,
dog, hold on to it,
hold
dog.
on,"
Hold on to it.
But I see the vision now,
Yeah,
and just kind of want to keep building on that, man. I'd like to have a property for sure for every child at minimum, if not more, if not double that. And like I
yeah,
said, if I can get my hands on those multi-unit, locations, then definitely want to do that. But it's properties, and then honestly, it's just assessing what you have in liquidity, and
yeah.
that's for me. That's kind of preparing for things to come.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I can truly say is, and of course, this is not everyone's story. Like everyone's situation is different. Um, but I would say personally is you can't fear the recession because anyone that is like we said 2008, so we're looking at 15 years, right? And this will probably all of the scholars and people that really study this stuff is saying that we should be in a recession by the end of this year, and it'll probably run until 2024. That's what people are, you know, forecasting.
Hmm.
You know, fourth quarter 2023
Hmm.
till probably third quarter up in the fourth quarter of 2024.
Okay.
Um, and so, but the thing is, this happens all the time, right? And what happens is it's wasteful. A lot of people get money and
Hmm.
then they buy a lot of stuff they don't need. It's just that's the keep it as blanket as statement as possible. People get money, they buy a lot of things they don't need, therefore the economy just has to break. It is what it is. When you have people that become millionaires and they spend their millions on stuff that they don't need, eventually you know what I mean? The system breaks and it has to reset itself. And it's something that's going to happen every 10 to 15, 20 years for the rest of time. It's just, it always happens. You know what I mean? But I think now we have an opportunity. Back in 2008,
Hmm.
we could have been ahead of the curve and bought property, right? I think now there's an opportunity to get ahead of the curve, buy property. Um, I what I will say is right now is probably not the best time to quit your job.
Correct.
Even if you hate your job, I mean, if you hate
Yeah.
your job, quit. But before you quit, find another job. I'll just say that,
Okay.
right? And the only reason why I say that is because it's going to get tough for a lot of people, right? Especially people who are not financially sound and haven't took care of their finances properly.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt a lot of people, but that's why I would suggest don't quit your job, so to speak. Now, if you can find something that's better, by all means, find something that's better. But before you quit, you need to have a real plan in place because it's going to dry up out here. It's really going to dry up, and we need to be more prepared. So I would express to everyone instead of quitting your job, get a side hustle.
Mm.
Just get a side hustle, something that's not going to take a lot of your time, but can bring in some money for you. So, whatever that side hustle is, legal side hustle, legal side hustle. But
Yeah.
find you a side hustle that what you can bring in some money, bro. Like I don't care if it's extra $50 here and there, like, but find something that's going to bring in money. So if you were to lose your job, or if you're one of those people that get fired, because people will get fired, you'll have something already in motion to where
Yeah.
you can kind of somewhat stay afloat in the process.
I was thinking before you even said that, another thing that people should pay a lot of attention to right now, in terms of where they work, what's going on at their job, and what's going on in their field, is key opportunities to level up where you are.
Hmm.
Coming out of the pandemic, the hiring landscape has changed, and I believe it's changed forever.
Yeah.
Where people don't want to work, they don't have to work because they've learned that either I don't need to be there, you want me there to micromanage, or you want me there to maintain the real estate property that you sold, but I'm more
Mm.
productive at home. As a matter of fact, I've learned that I can do what I do without you, and
That's a big one.
I've become a consultant in my field. I've become, an independent contractor at, XYZ, and people have not come back to the office because they realize that the pandemic taught us that the expertise belonged to the people.
Yep, 100%.
And it's so interesting to see. But what I'm realizing is this is also a great opportunity if you're someone who's wired to be attached to a company, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Whatever works for you. Um, it's either a great time for you to level up at a new place, that because
Mm.
vacancies are far and wide, they are just available. People are taking chances on hiring folks. People are hiring quicker, faster, less qualified, just more ambitious,
Yeah, yeah,
and so and willing to accommodate at all costs
yeah.
just to fill the role. So you have an opportunity to try something new. You do have an opportunity to learn something and take time learning something. Now, everywhere, this is not a cookie cutter approach. So you gotta do your research. You gotta know what you're dealing with.
Oh,
You know
oh yeah.
the company history, and granted, you need to know if that company is sustainable.
Yeah.
Um, in the nonprofit world, for instance, I'm familiar with a space where the sustainability will not be affected by a recession. It wasn't affected by the last. And thankfully, I'm working currently for a space where in 25 years, there's only been 1 year in the red, and that was the first recession that we
Gotcha.
saw, that we referenced earlier. But even then, there were not layoffs. There was a plan in place to get back into the green, and since has been sustainable and has even taken steps to set up endowments and so on and so forth. So I pay attention. I'm like, okay, it's not always comfortable, it's not always easy, it's not always
Right.
ideal, but in the current climate that we're in, it's kind of a smart decision. But what I can do is chart a path to leveling up where I'm at.
Hmm.
And that does two things. That also keeps me in a sustainable place. It brings in more income, maybe more leverage, more flexibility, but also sets my resume up nice where when I need to move, it's more attractive.
So I'm gonna piggyback off of that one because full transparency, man, I was having a rough time at work. Not, I was just bored. I think that's what it was. I was bored and I wasn't being challenged
Okay.
because I was doing a lot of work that felt like busy work. You know that, like when you're in school and you get busy work when the teacher is like out of town and
Hmm.
the substitute come in and they're
Yep.
having you do like something just to do it. And I started expressing. I was like, man, this I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. And what I did was start carving out a space of the things that I did like and things that I did enjoy. And then I started being a little more assertive um, at my job. So instead of looking at it like, man, I don't really want to be here, like, no, you know what? There's an opportunity here to do something that nobody else is doing. So insert yourself in those places, right? And
Hmm.
so I started inserting myself in those places and like basically saying, this is what I want to do, and I'm just gonna do this. And what you find out is there's nobody else that want to do it.
Mm.
So because you want to do it, you make yourself favorable in the eyes of your employer. And so being assertive, number one, but also getting the tools and the training that you need, right?
Key,
So
big key. Yep.
when someone sees they're like, okay, cool, we want you to do this. And don't get me wrong, bro, like a lot of the stuff that I do at my current job is self-taught. Self-taught is frowned upon in the corporate world. They don't get that part.
No, they don't.
They don't get that. So to them, it looks like you're just BSing on the job, which is not, that's not the case. Some stuff that, like, bro, we just live in a world where we grew up on the internet.
Right.
We grew up on the internet, and we also know what the world is like not with the internet. And so we know how to merge both worlds together. So it's nothing for us to sit on YouTube for like 2 hours and figure out something and be like good to go, right? But the rest of the corporate world doesn't operate that way. So if you're in a corporate setting and you can tell them how to do something, but you don't have any credentials on how you did that, they're going to look at it like, oh, you guessed and figured that out. So when they tell you that, like, okay, we need you to go to training, I don't care how boring that training is.
Go get that
I don't
certification.
care. Go and get that certification, bro. I don't care if you know how to operate Canva from front to back. Go and get the Canva certification that they're paying for. Because what that does is that amps up your LinkedIn page.
Hmm.
So now they've paid for all of your skills,
Right.
but those skills belong to you,
Facts.
right? And now your LinkedIn page, your resume is being built off of their resources. So whenever there's an opportunity for you to move, or if there's an opportunity for you to get a promotion where you're at, now you have the credentials there to get that promotion or to move to something else, and that company paid for it.
Yeah.
So, look at it as, you have to really shift your mindset and look at it as an opportunity to expand your skill set off of on their dime.
100%. And companies are making strides and efforts to provide those opportunities because they want something attractive to draw employees at a time where employees are few and far.
Hmm.
You can leverage that opportunity to expand your company's access, or free access, I should say, to the employee, where they're saying, hey, we have a subscription at for in my world, there is a place, a resource for countless trainings in nonprofit called the Georgia Center for Nonprofits.
Hmm.
Um, we have a subscription, and I'm watching our organization and others, say now what used to be accessible only to senior leadership or only to full-time employees
Mm.
is now accessible for all. So even your entry level employees, have at it. We want you to develop. We want you to, because companies are realizing they're spending more money churning through people, hiring the wrong people over and over, having to let them go,
Oh
people
yeah. Oh
leaving
yeah.
so fast. So now they are trying to become more attractive. They're trying to develop you from within so that eventually they can promote you from within, because it costs a lot of money to hire, fire, rehire.
Hmm.
Somebody leaves, rehire. That costs your organization, your companies tons of money. And it's interesting seeing those trends. But to your point, go sit in that boring class that you know how to do the job back and forth. Like you've
Yep.
done it for the last 10 years. Now go get the paperwork for it.
Yep.
And the paperwork comes, guess what, in 4 online sessions that are 3 hours each.
Yep.
And then you have a certification and something that you know how to do as an expert. But now the paper and the title is attached to that.
Yep.
So that other people know for sure.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I'm speaking to me and you're speaking to me
Yep.
because I was the stubborn one. It's just like, bro, what am I, fam? I've been doing this same thing for like
Same.
for a year. You want me
Same.
to go and get training on this? What I've been doing for a year? All right, cool. Go and do it. And that's it. I will say for me, someone that's more like I'm more of an entrepreneur than a worker, but I have to learn when to be a worker.
Mm.
And that's some of the hardest things to do because you know that I can create out of nowhere, right?
Mhm.
Like that is a skill set that I have. Like I don't worry about losing a job. I don't, I have to think about it more now because I have a family. When it was just me, there was no worries. I was like, because I know how to get money. I know how to figure out a way to make money. That's never been a hard thing for me. But, when working within a corporate system, you got to learn how to play the game. And
Right.
that's part of the game is getting the credentials, dude. Like you got to do it. There's no way around it. And so that's been a learning curve for me because a lot of stuff I am self-taught, bro. Like it's just I can't explain how certain things, come to me, but they don't care about that self-taught at all. They and I've seen it firsthand, bro. Like firsthand, just like, all right, that's cool, but yeah, can you take this class and get the training? So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm
Yeah.
on that board now. Go ahead and not really worrying about the outcome. I'm kind of thinking about what you're saying is like get it. So now that you have the expertise, you've been doing it yourself, and now you have the credentials to match. So
Mhm.
now you have that backing, you have that corporate backing to say, like, no, I've been on the job doing it for 10 years and I'm certified for it too. So
Experience and certification.
Yeah, experience and certification. So now there's no if, ands, or buts. Like it's all here. So when I tell you that I'm an expert in this field, now it means something. It holds some weight. And going back to what you said about the hiring and firing, put it like this: a company would rather give you a $10,000 to $20,000 promotion than to go and hire somebody else and pay them $50,000, $60,000
Definitely.
just to fire them 6 months later, and then they got to go and hire somebody else and pay them 40, 50. You know what I mean? Like they would much rather give you the extra 10 because it's cheaper. I just saved $50,000 by giving you a promotion that you're going to be happy about.
Yep.
You're going to be happy about that promotion, and we just saved $50,000 this year.
And candidates are going to come in hotter and hotter in terms of what they're asking for.
Yep.
You let somebody go at 45K, the next one guaranteed is going to be asking for 52, and so on and so forth. And you're going to be forced to pay it because you need to fill the role. It's just
you got to fill the role.
Yeah.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. So okay, let's summarize. Number one, get you a side hustle. We'll just leave it at that. Get you a side hustle.
That's it. Yep.
If you're working within your corporate field, get all the training that your job will pay for.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that they'll pay for, go ahead and get all the training. Number three, look to get into real estate. Mm-hmm. Get you some real estate. Number four, if you have the capital, even if you don't, this is another episode, but just a tidbit, you don't have to have the money to buy a business. You don't have to have it. Find the business that you want to buy first, and then you'll figure out the funding later. There's a lot of different tools out there. You can Google and find them out, but you don't have to have like in fact, I would strongly suggest don't use your money to buy any of this stuff. The same way that you go to the bank and get money to buy a home, go to the bank and get money to buy a business or do all of this stuff. Utilize the funding that's there because they're using your money. That $40,000 that you got in the bank, they're using every red cent of that to reinvest it somewhere else. So use their own game. Go and borrow the money and buy the business, buy the home, make the improvements, and then when you sell, guess what? You made money off of the free money that, yes, you're paying interest, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we get that. But you didn't, your nest egg is still sitting pretty, and you can add on to your nest egg while borrowing the money. So
facts.
Yeah, that's just free. That's free. Y'all don't have to pay us for any of that. But if you do want to pay us, here's an easy way to do that. Go to our Patreon account right now. Go to our Patreon, join our Patreon, get bonus content. It costs you a very little small amount of money. Even in a recession, it's not going to be much. It's just like instead of buying that carton of eggs, subscribe to the Patreon. One less carton of eggs a month. That's all. One less carton of eggs. And here's the fun fact. There's actually a free preview right now on Patreon. So you can go there now. You can get you a 7-day free preview of the Black Men Think podcast Patreon account. So if you love the content there, free trial, 7 days, enjoy. And if you love what you see in there, just go ahead and let it roll and pay for the subscription. But
there it is.
Yeah, that's it. Anything else, Mo?
No, man. No, that turned into a good one. Hopefully people are listening.
Yeah, yes indeed. Yes indeed. So we don't have 3 people here to do our closing, but we can say I'm drawing a blank on the closing.
Thinkers think. I'm starting for you.
Thinkers think, doers do. Don't be anybody else, just be you. Black Man Think podcast. That's it.
Yes,
I think we got it. We got it. All right.
The Black Men Think podcast.